Welcome back to another episode of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Dylan Mel, Ben Mandel, and a dejected Corey Jason might be the saddest episode we've ever done.
I'm so mad that Ben's not on camera to celebrate.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a level of like arrogance to that.
Look, hey,
But-
you know what? I have my own connection issues. Otherwise, the camera would be on.
Yeah.
But let's run through quickly an update over the free agents that have signed since we last talked. Started off, we'll go Aroldis Chapman signed with the Red Sox. Former Yankee closer heads up to Boston, 1 year, $10.75 million. He gets to play for his childhood team, apparently, according to Salvi Perez. At the way things are going, he's gonna be like an all-star closer, right?
He'll be a good setup, man. I doubt he's their closer.
Then we'll go Luis Severino, starter to the Oakland A's or Sacramento A's or the Vegas A's, just the A's.
Their biggest contract ever, right? 67
Biggest
million?
contract in franchise history. What do we call them? Like if we say Boston, Toronto,
The
Philly,
A's.
A's,
The A's.
the Hermits,
Trash.
trash.
I mean,
How
I feel like, similar to the Raiders. I don't feel like I call like the Raiders Vegas.
But
They're
like
just
at
the
least
Raiders.
they have a home. But at least they have a home.
To be fair, the Tampa Bay Rays don't have a home right now either.
Yeah, but they're at least still playing in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, you're welcome for that.
There was something coming out about if the Rays make the playoffs, they're not guaranteed to be able to play at that stadium.
That'd be so petty of the Yankees to be like, yeah, well, figure it out.
Yeah,
Go to a little league field, pal.
that would be pretty funny. But 3 years, 67. How is 67 million in this day and age the largest contract given out by a team, especially one that's been around longer than pretty much every other team? They're one of the oldest franchises.
I think that contract being the largest for the A's and then the amount of money that Soto signed for is going to be an example of where there's going to be some form of cap in the MLB in the future, I feel.
Yeah, I feel like the best way to fix it, and we'll talk about that when it gets to that point, but quickly is we have a soft cap in the luxury tax.
Yeah.
You need to add a soft floor, encourage teams to be.
I also think you're going to need to add a hard cap at a certain point too. I think eventually you're going to have more than one Steve Cohen. And it's going to be like those 3 teams, those 3 to 6 teams get everyone.
Well, and I understand Steve Cohen's wealth is, significant in some instances compared to other owners, but he, in the grand scheme of things, the money he's spending is still money that other owners have the ability to spend. It's
The
not
money given to Juan Soto is greater than the net worth of the Cincinnati Reds owner.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Some owners can certainly spend it and cheap out on it. Some can't. This is what I mean, though. I think in the next, bargaining agreement, there's going to be a definitive floor and a definitive cap laid out. My biggest question mark is the contracts that have already been dealt out. How is that going to count against it? I think we're like definitively headed there. Just how do they like? If there's a brand new hard cap and it's like, if you're the Mets, well, it's like, well, that's not the rules we were playing under when we gave Juan Soto $55 million a year.
There's got to be like grandfather rules.
Yeah.
Or maybe like you have to
something.
pay like a steeper penalty.
They'll figure it out. But
Yes.
I just think very clearly, based on the last 2 years, we're headed there. Like you sent me a text earlier today that was like, Aaron Judge's contract at the time for $360 million was the highest. That was 2 years ago, and now we're at a contract for $765 million, and it's not a guy that plays both.
Let's use the real number, 805.
Yeah, but my point is, it's not a guy like Ohtani who plays both sides, like who pitches. Like this is not like a guy who's going to end up being a DH at some point during this contract.
But before we get to this guy, let's quickly go Danny Jansen, he's a catcher now for the Rays. 1 year, $8.5 million. Clay Holmes, reliever starter, question mark. Signed a 3-year, $38 million deal with the Mets. Good luck with that, guys.
Yeah,
Tyler
starter. He
O'Neill,
is apparently
outfielder.
going to be a starter.
Yes, good luck with that.
I hope the infield defense is good.
I believe he started 3 games in his major league career, and that was 7 years ago. Tyler
Yeah, I believe
O'Neill,
with
the
Pittsburgh,
outfielder,
right?
signed with Pittsburgh. Signed with Baltimore, 3 years, $49.5 million. Willie Adames, shortstop. San Fran got their guy. 7 years, 182.
That was huge.
Surprised he didn't hold out till after Soto. He could have probably gotten it up to 200, especially with a couple other teams now in that mix. Michael Conforto signed with the Dodgers, 1 year, $17 million. Juan Soto signed with the Mets, 15 years, $765. Could escalate to $805 with the opt-out void. And Jordan Romano, most importantly, is now the newest closer for the Phillies.
Most
Those numbers have
importantly,
not been released. So, which of these signings do you guys, feel has the most impact on the league?
Juan Soto.
You sure?
Well,
Yeah,
to be
and
fair, so Carlos Mendoza came out in his press conference today because the Mets have not announced this. It's not official just yet. So obviously he's not allowed to talk about it. He's getting tons of questions, and he was asked, what is the most impactful move? His answer was Frankie Montas.
wow,
So
disrespecting Clay
that's
Holmes
what
like
we can
that.
go with.
Savage.
Already started trouble in the locker room. I don't know if he makes it past June, this attitude.
Yeah. No, so the Juan Soto deal, obviously we have to talk about that. Corey, I don't know, did you want to do the Mets reaction from Ben or the Yankees reaction from us?
Well, let's go Mets reaction first because I want our Yankee reaction to kind of lead into what we want them to do next. And I think that would give us the best avenue to attack this monstrosity of an occurrence.
Yep.
So Ben,
Yeah,
floor
look,
is yours.
Look, you guys want my genuine, honest reaction to this. It's just pure joy. Joy because, however small Yankee fans want to look at this as, this is a win for Mets fans over Yankee fans. Not really something you often get. Typically when the Mets sign a former Yankee, it's someone who's washed up. They are no longer in their prime. Curtis Granderson, Dylan Betances, things like that. Guys who still can be solid players, but Luis Severino last year was a best case scenario. The Mets were able to poach a legitimate superstar from the Yankees. Their owner said, just pulled down his pants, schwap right on the table and said, mine's bigger, paid more, got the guy. So it's one of those things that as a Mets fan, you're happy that you get to see that. But now, it is time to see how the rest of this roster is going to fill out because, yes, they've made some minor moves by bringing in a couple of arms, a couple of moving pieces, Jose Siri coming in. But that's not the kind of move that's going to fill out this lineup. That's not the depth that they need. So it's really just kind of interesting to see where the Mets pivot from here, if they are done because of how massive this contract was, or if they're still planning on going out and spending and keeping Brett Beatty from being their starting third baseman on opening day.
How do you feel this contract's going to play out? Using my words carefully so I don't sound too negative.
I mean, look, whenever you sign a player to a massive contract, you are always overpaying at the end to get them in the beginning, especially when you have a bidding war that was conducted. I mean, all 4 teams were over the $700 million mark when it comes to the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Mets, and the Blue Jays. Like the Dodgers were just like, look, we can't have another one. But, there were 4 teams that were willing to spend more than $700 million on Juan Soto. So I'm not too worried about the money, especially when it's Steve Cohen's money, because I don't care about his money. He seems to not care about his money. He spends it. He does a great job of spending it, so I'm happy about that. But, obviously we talked about this. You don't let not signing Pete Alonso or signing Pete Alonso hinder your ability to sign Juan Soto. but I'd love to see them bring the polar bear back now, because this lineup, there is a huge difference in it. Whether Alex Bregman or Pete Alonso is in this lineup, because, as of right now, you're looking at a Brett Beatty at third base, sacrificing that, putting him into the lineup so you can get Soto.
Yeah, I think from a clear what everybody else makes in baseball, there's no denying that the Juan Soto contract is an overpay, but an overpay that any team was willing to make. Like, I would have sat here and been just as happy if the Yankees had gotten it. It would have been an overpay, but you have to overpay to get a generational talent at 26 years old. Is he going to be a
It's not
DH
like
in
other
5 years?
sports where you
Probably.
have a salary cap.
Well,
It's not like
exactly,
this is
and
going
exactly.
to affect your ability to get other players.
Well, that's what is it an overpay for Steve Cohen? I don't know. How much money is he willing to spend on the team? What percentage of his money is going to Juan Soto every year? I don't know.
Bring back the quote. Bring back the quote from when Steve Cohen bought this team. I have the chance to make tons of Mets fans happy. I didn't buy the team to make money. He plans on losing money. So
Yeah.
it really is not that big of a deal. That's why people want a salary cap, because spending money for Steve Cohen is just not a big deal.
And that's why the Yankees were out. And it was widely reported that the Yankees were where they were at, the Mets came to where they were at, and the Yankees said, we're not going any higher than where we are. And when Brian Cashman said that they went above where they were comfortable going, this is why he said that. The Yankees very clearly have shown you, based on the moves that they have made, that they have a self-imposed salary cap of $300 million a year. That is what they are willing to spend a year on the team. They would have been paying, if they matched, let's just say they matched the Mets offer and Soto goes to the Yankees. At a certain point, it would have been 1/6 of their salary cap for a guy who doesn't play the outfield. That's where it would have eventually been. Maybe with inflation, and eventually they get more money in a couple of years. That's 1/7. But point being, that's a lot to invest in a guy who doesn't play the field for the Yankees. So throughout the last couple of days, me and Corey have been talking about it. Corey said, are you mad at the Yankees? No, they went way above where I thought they were going to go. They offered more money than I could have imagined. And to me, it feels like Juan Soto just wanted to be a Met. The money was close enough that I feel like he just got to pick which team he wanted to go for. There's a lot of speculation right now what it is. I personally lean Juan Soto, 26, one of the 5 best players in the sport, wanted his own damn team. The Yankees or Aaron Judge's team. Judge was going to be the captain.
It's not like Francisco Lindor. I actually get really annoyed when people. Francisco Lindor clearly made this hit.
So we're having some technical difficulties.
Disrespectful to act like this is not Francisco Lindor's team.
I just think technology doesn't even believe Ben, and it's not letting him even say what he's trying to say.
Ben, we couldn't hear a word you got out there.
Even the Matrix believes him that it's Lindor's team.
It's extremely disrespectful, though, to sit there and say Juan Soto wanted his own team. That's why he came to the Mets. Francisco Lindor is still here, and Francisco Lindor is here for a long time.
Saying that, Soto wanted to play with a younger team when Lindor's a year younger than Judge. They're so practically the same age.
Yeah, but it's not. I haven't even really heard that, but I've heard tons of people say that one of the reasons why he would go to the Mets is because of that. How about the fact that you have Carlos Mendoza, Francisco Lindor, Starling Marte, Francisco Alvarez, all apparently are fairly close with Juan Soto and are apparently very friendly with Juan Soto.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't make it. I didn't want it to sound like I was discrediting that situation.
Yeah,
just in my mind, if I was Juan Soto, the Mets can become my team a lot easier than the Yankees.
Also, the moment Soto puts on a Mets jersey, he's the greatest Met to ever play the game, bar none. Like, it's not even a conversation. He is the greatest Met of all time.
I mean, like in a pure talent, like vacuum, I guess maybe, but like if he just played 1 year and then hung up the jersey, it's not like he'd be the GOAT.
No, but look, I mean, that's assuming he's not going to actually.
He's going to have to perform, and look, with that contract he signed, look, the expectations are going to be sky high.
Well, that's my next question. What are the expectations now for the Mets? Because I'll let you answer it, Ben. did the Mets overtake the Dodgers, Braves, and Phillies in the National League right now?
Well, they
Not
already
quite
are
yet.
past the Phillies. They're already better than the Phillies. They just beat them in a
I
playoff
would
series.
look. I would say that they're better than the Phillies, considering the fact that yes, you beat them in the playoffs, and when you replace Pete Alonso with Juan Soto in your lineup, you got better. And you want to say, hey, the Phillies no longer have, no doubt, the best 1-2 punch. But when you look at those two teams in star power,
Mm-mm.
you can argue Lindor and Harper last year. Now there isn't an argument at all that it's Soto Harper. You have Lindor. This could be the best 1A, 1B situation in baseball, just like what Judge and Soto were last year. That's why I'm really excited to see if they can bring back Alonso or bring in a guy like Bregman, because just adding that third piece to this lineup could make all the difference.
Yeah, and I'll say this, it's not the Yankees, and since it's not the Yankees, the Mets are who I wanted it to be. I wouldn't have wanted to see them twice a year in Toronto or Boston, and the Dodgers, I would have just probably stopped
Twice a
watching
year? You
baseball.
think this is the NFL?
Or not twice a year. I'm in NFL mindset, but I wouldn't have wanted to have seen him in those uniforms like every time a third of the time I turn on the TV. But for the Mets, it's also, you're a Mets fan. We do this podcast with you. It's a lot better if the Mets are good. It's a lot better for me because my dad's a Mets fan if the Mets are good. So if it wasn't going to be the Yankees, I'm glad it's the Mets. And also, let's just say, for argument's sake, the Mets do bring back Pete Alonso, because from what I'm seeing online, it's likely. Well, now go look at an NLCS top of the lineup battle: Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Lindor, Soto, Alonso. Sign me up, take my money.
Well, and then, the supplemental pieces, the NLCS could very well be the World Series if that's the case, but the Mets have to get better pitching wise. The Dodgers went out and signed Blake Snell. The Mets have to, I'm not saying you have to go out and get a Fried, but they need to.
I think they're getting Burns.
At where we are now, though, what is the expectations for the Mets? Going into this season,
I think we should do what should the Mets do the rest of this offseason, if that's the conversation we're having.
Yeah.
Because
I can't have the expectation without going through how the roster
as
fills,
we
because
stand
obviously
right
it's
now,
World Series.
if the Mets don't make another move, what's the expectations? If they don't make a single other move,
don't pay anybody
with that pitching
money.
rotation, I can't imagine you're expecting World Series. Because you can't say if the Mets don't make another move, that's not going to happen. Simply put, they would at least bring back Manaea and bring in another arm.
If the Mets make minimal
here's
moves
the
now,
thing I want to point out then, because you look, Manaea and Severino were clearly a 1-2 punch at the top. Peterson kind of emerged towards the end. Well, you have Paul Blackburn rejoining the rotation after injuries. You have Kodai Senga rejoining the rotation after injuries. You also have Christian Scott, who is, coming back from Tommy John. You hope maybe he can come back halfway through the year next year. It is one of those things that's going to be a little sketchy, because how Tommy John is. Typically, they're giving guys that 18-month now.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't he get it in September?
Well, yes, exactly. So asking for him to come back this season is still a lot, but it's not like the Mets rotation is completely depleted. Losing Manaea and Severino, yeah, that's going to hurt a bit, but I think that they have supplemented that and they've added enough to be where they were at the moment. Clearly that was enough. I think obviously you want to add in the bullpen if you can, but a healthy Reed Garrett, Buto, a full season out of the bullpen, a healthy year for Diaz, one more year removed from the patella injury. As it stands right now, you're going to have a guy like Tyler McGill in the bullpen. We'll see if maybe he can be someone who steps up and has a big season. Who knows? Maybe Clay Holmes has a big year. David Stearns is
Frankie
really good
Montas
at
as
diamonds.
well.
And Montas, I know that's a name Corey doesn't like. I know that's a name you two are both very familiar with, but
I liked Frankie Montas a lot before the Yankees got him, and then he went to the Yankees and sucked. But he could very well go to the Mets and be good. Mendoza
was with the Yankees for Montas's entire tenure, So
And he was also hurt, and then like the Yankees kind of gave up on him, which like I understood
think
at the time,
Mendoza
but like
knows a
he never
lot
got a
about Montas.
run. To compete with the Dodgers, who are going to have Ohtani back, we'll see what he is off of Tommy John. But even if we just go into it, assuming he's Ohtani at some level, Yamamoto, Blake Snell, and their plethora of pitching, the Mets have to bring in another arm or two. It doesn't have to be Corbin Burns, but they should really look into bringing Manaea back, in my opinion. He was good for them. Senga, Manaea, Montas, Peterson, Holmes, Blackburn, McGill. Like, you could figure out a rotation out of those 7 guys, no problem. But again, do they go in and go for a Burns? Is this like the Steve Cohen extravaganza? Maybe. But I
Right.
think another arm has to come back in, and minimalistically, I would assume it's Manaea. And then, like you don't sign Juan Soto if you're not expecting World Series.
Exactly. So for the Mets, though, these are the guys that they kind of have out there still. Pete Alonso, Sean Manaea, like you guys said, Jose Quintana still available, JD Martinez, Harrison Bader, Brooks Raley, Adam Ottavino, Ryan Stanek, Drew Smith, Jesse Winker, Jose Iglesias, Alex Young, and then obviously Severino, who signed away to the A's. They brought in Soto, they brought in Holmes, they brought in Montas, they brought in Dylan Covey. Lots of guys that are really good.
Traded for Jose Siri, too, for outfield depth.
Jose Siri, good player. I mean, they need a first baseman, right? I'd say they probably need a third baseman.
Oh, so no, they need one or the other.
One or the other.
Vientos will be the
as
other.
of right now, Vientos is first base until a first baseman comes in, and Beatty is playing third.
So they need a third baseman in that scenario because I feel like the Mets are totally out on Beatty. They need starting pitching bad, real bad, and they still probably could use more help in the bullpen.
I don't know if I'd say starting pitching is real bad. I think
Especially
that they
the way
can
Stearns plucks diamonds, man.
They can get by with what they have, I feel, but they should bring back Manaea. Like, I think they should bring in an additional arm if your plan is to let's see what we have in house, get as many solid arms in house. Maybe they, because I am expecting them to still spend significant money on either Alonso or let Alonso go in a pitcher. Like, I think there's still one more big contract
Letting
coming
Alonso
from the
go
Mets.
and bringing in a pitcher, in my opinion, would be the smartest move
That's
for
the
them.
right way to do it for sure. I agree. But Alonso also has a lot built up with the franchise. And that lineup with him in it is probably better than the Dodgers.
You also can't take the emotion out of the decision, right? Like, I'm not saying that they shouldn't take the emotion out, but Stearns and Cohen are both long-time Mets fans, and they're the ones making this decision. They have already come out and said it is very tough for them to not make this an emotional decision when it comes to Pete Alonso, because every part of them being a Mets fan says he needs to just retire a Met. But you went out and paid Soto, as even though it's Steve Cohen's pocketbook, I'm sure he's still very much, not going out and being a drunken sailor and spending $1 billion in one offseason.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think the Mets, if emotion was out of it, it would be, hey, can we go get Burns and call it an offseason? Like, Ben, how would you feel if the Mets got Burns, but Beatty's the opening day third baseman?
I mean, look, I don't love it, but I also don't think they end up in that situation. I think that this is a very good management group that will put this team in a good position. I think, if you go out and you spend money on Burns, that just means you're spending a little bit less at the third base position. I think that, you can get a cheap first baseman. You can go out there and, perhaps even go out and make a trade. Maybe you go and bring in a Christian Walker. Maybe Carlos Santana or Justin Turner slots in at first.
Also,
base.
you threw it out there. Maybe they go get Bregman and leave Alonso to go wherever and just keep Vientos at first in their mind.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not a lot of good third basemen on the market this year.
Right.
But again,
Bregman's
let's say the money is really low, and the Mets they go sign Burns and they just want to get a cheap third baseman. are you going to sneeze at Gio Urshela being the guy who's slotted in here and hitting ninth in the lineup?
I love Gio,
Like,
but that's like
exactly.
definitely
That's
Yankee bias.
No, but like that's not and guess who knows him very well? Carlos Mendoza. So like it's not the worst idea in the world. Again, I would love for them to be able to get both and bring back a Pete. If you end up without Pete, bring in a Christian Walker. He's 34 years old. He's someone, who you won't have to give the term to. And that's what Steve Cohen mostly avoids. It's term. He'll give him a 2-year contract that's very, very, heavy and a bit of an overpay. But he's okay with that because it's not long term.
Yeah.
He knows he can get out of it easily.
Yeah, makes sense.
So what is the dream scenario for the Mets to finish off the offseason?
I mean, look, the dream scenario is to go out and get 2 pitchers. Whether, that is Corbin Burns, which I really don't think is going to happen because of the qualifying offer. I think the price, as well as, having to give up that draft pick, is going to be difficult. Same thing with Max Fried, although his price won't be as high. I think it's going to be more along the lines of like a Jack Flaherty, maybe even, a Kyle Gibson.
I think Mania is just an easy bring back as one of the 2 as well.
Yeah, exactly. Mania could very well be one of them. Quintana, same boat as Mania.
You can also make a trade for a guy like Jesus Luzardo.
Well,
or Garrett Crochet.
That might be a little bit more difficult because I don't think the Mets have the prospect pool to make.
I think Kikuchi's also a name to watch.
Kikuchi's a name to watch, but the name I was actually going to highlight as one to watch is maybe a very cheap option and a lefty at that note to add to this rotation. It's Patrick Corbin. A solid bounce back year. And, again, diamond in the rough. He could be someone who, really does thrive for them. So,
remember, Kikuchi signed with the Angels, I want to point out there.
Oh, my bad. What do you call it? Verlander back to the Mets?
Yeah, no. But I wouldn't be opposed to bringing in one other bullpen arm. I would love to see Stanek back. Jalen Beeks, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing in. Brooks Raley, if he could stay healthy, I think is a good guy to bring in. But all in all, there's work to do pitching wise, and then they just need a corner infielder.
I think the Mets
are going to be a first baseman in Alonso.
Well, I think the Mets are lacking a veteran presence in that rotation as well. So Nathan Eovaldi would be a really good fit.
Eovaldi, I think, is someone who's solid, and he could be one of those 2 arms. But I don't think that, if you bring in, let's say, Flaherty and bring back Mania, I think that is a solid move. Or if it's Quintana and Corbin and one other arm. Because you can't bank on Patrick Corbin, rather, to make your rotation opening day. I think you bring him in as a depth piece.
So let's go to the flip side of this whole Soto scenario, right? You have the Yankees. The Yankees still have floating out there in free agency Anthony Rizzo, Gleyber Torres, Alex Verdugo. Dylan, you're shaking your head. No, you don't want any of these 3 guys back, right? I'm with you. You did text me earlier about Verdugo.
I could live with Verdugo as a platoon, but the tweet that I sent you that said the Yankees are expected to be in the Alex Verdugo sweepstakes made me laugh. I was like, sweepstakes? What is this? Like, who's wording this? Is this Verdugo's burner?
Another one, though, is Tommy Kahnle, who I would like to see back.
Yeah.
Or Jonathan Loaizaga on a minor league deal just to let him rehab. We know his medicals. We know his stuff.
Yeah.
If he can ever stay healthy, I think he's a guy that could do well with us still.
I don't worry about relief pitching with the Yankees. Like,
I don't either.
Matt Blake will figure it out. I'd like a closer, but other than that, Matt Blake will figure it out.
John Birdie, who we non-tendered, is out there. Lou Trevino, who for some reason the Yankees have a love affair with. Tim Hill, another guy I wouldn't mind bringing back. Tim Meza, who we basically got rid of. And then Soto and Holmes, who went off to, no man's land, the farm upstate. The Yankees need a first baseman. Tell me if I'm wrong. A second baseman. A center fielder. A reliever.
like the Yankees, I'm fully on board with plan B being let's have the best rotation in baseball.
Yes. Well, they need again. Let's get another starter or two, and then they do really need a lefty power bat in that lineup.
Yeah. So in my ideal world, we've gone back and forth about this probably 100 times since the Soto deal came out because hopefully our minds were like Brian Cashman's and it's like, all right, like let's get to plan B. Max Fried is a name that I fully expect to be a Yankee. Reports were coming out that he had a very good meeting
I'm
with the
assuming
Yankees
tomorrow, to be honest, he becomes a
before
Yankee.
this. So I heard that Fried is between the Yankees and Red Sox,
Well,
but
Feinstein said he's expecting him to sign with the Yankees during the winter meetings now.
yeah, so I'm penciling in Fried. I'm not penning like it's not
What
etched in
could it,
stone, but like Max Fried is the name that I feel most confident will be a
what
Yankee.
would that contract look like to make you comfortable with it?
I mean, again, it's not my money,
Right,
but
but like,
I guess like
does
with
it
the $300
surpass
million budget, I
does it
guess like
surpass
it's ace
Rodon?
money.
Does it surpass Rodon in
It's
money?
probably not surpassed just because Fried's not coming off a Cy Young, and it's not like he's had an amazing year. But the team kind of has money to spend right now. Like they were just willing to spend a lot of money on Juan Soto.
They have
So
a
if
lot
it's
of money.
if it takes a little bit of an overpay to get Max Fried, like I'm not going to be mad. Aaron Judge is 32, Garrett Cole's 35, Giancarlo Stanton can't run the bases. Like the team is a veteran team. Like you kind of need to pay up to be good right now. Like, so if it's a little bit of an overpay for Max Fried, like I'm cool with it. I think that the team needs to how can we have the best rotation in baseball next year? Because I'm not in love with the hitters on the market. And obviously nobody's going to compare to Juan Soto, but I'm not in on Anthony Santander. I don't want Alex Bregman once he starts to regress when I don't even know if the Yankees are World Series contenders with him at that level. I think Bregman much more fits the Mets where it's like you don't even need to be like a top 4 hitter in our lineup for us to be good. Whereas Bregman would have to come to the Yankees and throughout 162 be probably number 2 behind Judge. So the expectation is different. I don't want that. They are, in the Teoscar Hernandez business. I'd like him. He's always played well at Yankee Stadium.
For the right number, though, because I don't want him to
For the right
hamstring
number.
us.
Right, for the right number. But my guess is his number is lower than Bregman's and Santander's. So if you're going to get a bat, like that's the one I'd prefer. Christian Walker for the right price, I'm interested. Second base, I'm cool with rolling out the kids, honestly. Durbin, Oswaldo Cabrera. If you
Oswald
do,
Peraza.
yeah, if you sign a second baseman and move Jazz to second, cool. Like Jazz Chisholm, kind of a great trade for the Yankees right now because he is making this offseason a lot easier. You just need one infielder at this point with Jazz. I think Dominguez, like this is the time to give the kids run in the lineup because this offseason isn't hitter friendly, whereas next offseason has Kyle Tucker, has Vlad Guerrero Jr. You missed out on Soto. Don't overcompensate this offseason in hitting.
Right. Don't
Let the
block
kids
yourself off. And
right.
I texted you this earlier. What they do at first base this offseason will decide whether they're in on Vladdy or not. What
Like
they do,
I would love the trade that we talked about.
Yeah.
I think Max Fried 1 and number 2 for the Yankees is a trade with a team in Chicago,
or
whether
both
it's
teams.
or both teams, but whether it's getting Luis Robert and or Garrett Crochet or going to the Cubs and getting Bellinger and or Nico Horner. Like those are 4 names. I'd be happy if any of them were on the Yankees next year.
I think getting a Bellinger Horner trade would make the Yankees much better because one, that gives them flexibility because Bellinger can play first or center. It doesn't prevent you from getting another player at either one of those spots. Plus,
And
he's
Nico
going
Horner's
to
money is not heavy.
Right. Well, Bellinger's also going to opt out at the end of the year. So it won't take you out of the Vladdy sweepstakes.
Or Kyle Tucker.
Or Kyle Tucker. And if he does opt in, it doesn't take you out of either player also because he can just play the opposite position.
Yeah.
You won't get both, but you can still get one, and it doesn't matter which one. Horner doesn't make a lot of money, and he's a great defender, which we've been sorely lacking at second base.
I love that deal, and I also think some combination of Nestor and Spencer Jones gets it done.
Then
or Nestor and Peraza.
And on the flip side, in Chicago, though, right? You take whatever you don't send to the Cubs and you go try to work a Crochet and
I was talking about Luis Heel in that deal, and I know some Yankees fans will be against that. Maybe Ben's even against that.
moving him at the height
but
of his value.
just one Rookie of the Year. Crochet is a better pitcher than him, just straight up. And Crochet being a lefty is better for the Yankees. We were talking about this, but if the Yankees rotation was Garrett Cole and then 3 straight lefties and Fried, Crochet, and Rodon, like that is perfect for that ballpark.
Also, when you look at Heel, again, I know he just won the Rookie of the Year, had a great season. His walk rate and his control is at a level where no pitcher has ever had sustained success with a season with the number of walks that he's had. His walks per 9 would be the highest of any Cy Young caliber pitcher in history. The closest would be like a Dylan Cease, who had control issues early and was still almost like a full walk per 9 less than Heel, who barely was able to make it out of the 6th inning because he was just throwing hundreds of pitches by the time he got there.
Yeah, so, I mean, in that standpoint, here's what I said to you, and again, I don't want it to sound like any kind of diss at Juan Soto because, again, if you told me that the Yankees got him and I got to pick, I'd still pick that in a heartbeat. Like, Juan Soto is who I would want. But they didn't get him. And for the Yankees, who do have seemingly a cap on themselves of $300 million, that money, if spent right, can get you a better team overall. The Yankees last year, why did they lose in the World Series? Obviously, I get they weren't the better team is like an easy thing to throw out there, but there were clear holes on this team with Juan Soto in the lineup. Juan Soto didn't fix everything wrong with this team. They were lacking infield defense. They were lacking outfield defense. They were lacking a complete lineup. Aaron Judge goes cold, and then all of a sudden it's, can Juan Soto do everything? What about the other 7 guys? If they play their cards right and leave this offseason with Fried, with Cody Bellinger, with Hernandez, with Horner, and with maybe just another pitcher. Maybe they just bring in Walker Buehler. That's a rumor that's going around. And you go into next year with Cole, Fried, Rodon, Buehler, and Clark Schmidt. And then that lineup has Nico Horner at second now, Bellinger at first, Teoscar in second. You let Dominguez pan out. You have Jazz at third. It is a much more complete lineup.
It's much
with
more
speed.
I want to ask you guys because, I mean, it's a lot of talking about acquiring through trade right now, and not necessarily looking to see if you can find a good.
And what I just said there was one trade.
Well, no, but I'm saying it feels like we're not really talking about available guys like at the first base position.
Which we're doing for a reason.
But here's the
I
thing,
like Christian Walker. I don't love Christian Walker.
But
I'd rather Bellinger.
Because I'm saying you guys want to go spend money on a pitcher. Okay, how would you feel about a Josh Bell coming in? How would you feel about a guy like taking a chance on a Ty France or maybe what's his face?
I mean, I'd be fine taking a chance on them. I just instead of what are we losing that Cubs deal? And now at second base it's Durbin, and at first it's Ty France instead of Horner and Bellinger.
What if you make a different move though, because you're not trying to get Bellinger? You're able to, let's say Paul Goldschmidt signs for extremely cheap.
Well, that would be one of the guys. I'd rather a Goldschmidt or a Carlos Santana over a Ty France or a Josh Bell. A Christian Walker, I think, would take you out of the Vladdy move for next year because he's going to want a 3, maybe even 4-year deal.
The thing with losing Soto is now you have to make 3 to 5 moves instead of 1 to 2. And that's the biggest detriment of losing him, obviously, is now you have to replace his production with multiple guys. What I'm saying is those multiple guys get guys who also add things that you didn't have last year. Nico Horner is a guy who adds speed, adds defense. Cody Bellinger at first base. might actually hit a home run in between July and September, unlike any Yankees first baseman. The last
we
Yankees
still
first
waiting on
baseman
the?
last year that hit a home run was DJ LeMahieu versus the Phillies on
I was gonna
July
say, we're still waiting.
31st.
I mean, you get like the Yankees could also though try to go another route, and I don't know, maybe try to bring OMG in and sign Jose Iglesias to play second base.
I mean, I don't think Jose Iglesias is going to get a major league contract this year.
No, I think he's in the same boat as he was last year, and he ends up
Yes,
coming up with a different team. Maybe the Mets bring him in as just to be a glue guy again. But like even the Mets know, like OMG itself is done.
right. So I don't think even looking at him as a possible add-on in any way outside of sending him to Scranton.
Well, I'm
I
seeing
mean,
I'm seeing the Yankees now are, according to the Athletic, are interested in Nolan Arenado being their third baseman.
I mean, Jack Curry
It's-
also said 2 weeks ago that the Yankees have no interest in it. So I'm
but
confused.
I'd imagine now losing Soto, you
right,
just
I'd
start to
imagine
explore
now.
everything, which is fine. Everything has a price. What are we paying of Arenado's contract? What are the
Right.
Cardinals
Well,
paying?
you would either not give up much and take on a majority of the contract, or you give up some prospects and St. Louis
Right.
eats part of the contract.
And like, I don't mind Arenado. I just don't want Arenado to be the move.
Right. Arenado isn't the move. Arenado
Yeah.
has shown a loss of defensive capabilities and offensive capabilities.
Yeah,
I'd
like
almost rather just not even entertain the idea.
I mean, listen, I'm all for getting Jazz to
The
second
Coors
base.
Field fall off is real.
I'm all for getting Jazz Chisholm to second base. I don't know. I don't think there's a path for that I like. So I think he's going to be at third next year, unless Nico Horner just starts playing third base, which maybe that could be the move. I mean, Jazz isn't a third baseman by
or
trade either.
you sign Ha-Seong Kim and move him to third base.
That's like another name that I'm cool with. I just
cool
think
with
the
it,
Yankees should focus on bringing in 2 starting pitchers that give you something to say, hey, we don't have the best lineup, but we have the best pitching, and guys that can contact and play defense. Like the exact things that the Dodgers wrote in their plan of how to beat the Yankees. They can't contact the ball, they can't play defense. The Dodgers, who are very smartly run, who, they've collapsed in the playoffs, but I would say over the last decade have just consistently produced the best team. That is what they said your weaknesses are.
Yeah.
Fix them.
I mean, for me, my perfect Yankee offseason now would be kind of what you were saying. Go get 2 starting pitchers. I'd love Crochet and Fried. Bring in Robert to play the outfield. Go get Bellinger and Horner.
See that, like the 2 trade thing, I know that we mocked up how they work. I doubt it happens.
Of course.
They're too stingy with that farm and their guys that I want to also keep it realistic. It's one or the other.
Well, that's why I said it in my perfect offseason.
Yeah.
And then you also finagle away. If let's say you don't do Crochet because I think that's less likely than a Bellinger, you go then and go get a Devin Williams to be your closer.
I could see a second trade when it's something like that. My thing is on the market right now, if they just sign Fried and they have Cole, Fried, Rodon, Keel, Nestor, Schmidt, like that's 6. But you would assume one of those guys, probably Nestor, gets moved in a Bellinger deal. Who's like a 6th arm you'd want them to bring in? Is it Walker Buehler or is there somebody else you have in mind? Because Bueller's been linked to the Yankees.
Buehler would be nice. I like Buehler. Would you be completely upset if we went in with Cody Poteet as that 6th arm?
I don't mind the Yankees ever. With pitching at this point, I'm willing to give the Yankees the benefit of the doubt and see what happens. Because the Yankees are also going to leave enough cap space to where, in their mind, they can make a move at the deadline.
You also have, was it Hampton there?
Yeah, Will Warren stinks, so not him.
I wasn't going to bring him up. You also have Clayton Beater as an option.
Yeah, the Yankees. So here's the thing: they were going to sign Juan Soto to $50 a year, right? Is that like where that math's out? 47.5. So they're willing to spend somewhere between $50 and $60 million per year going forward. Where is Fried at contract wise? Probably somewhere in the 20s, maybe 30.
Between 20 and 30.
I think he's gonna projected to get like 32 is what I saw.
Well, it depends on the term, though, too. If he's going
So
to
let's
get
call it
more
30.
than 4 years, it's going to be lower on the AAV.
Let's call it 30. What's Teoscar getting?
20?
20?
20.
Then, that's 50 right there. Are you getting Bueller for 10?
Probably not. No, definitely not.
Definitely
So-
not, considering, but here's the thing, too. Like, a guy like Teoscar turned down the qualifying offer. A guy like Fried turned down the qualifying offer. Like, those are really key indicators that these guys are set to get paid.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
another
so-
name
They're going
that
to
we're
make
also
more than
skipping out on,
22.
though, and that's Marcus Stroman.
Yeah, well, his money is going to come off the books. He pretty much said so on fucking Twitter today, excuse me, but he basically said that. Did you see the interaction he had with a fan today?
No, what was it?
So he said he congratulated Juan Soto for his contract, and some Yankees fan quote tweeted him and was like, "You're like ridiculous. Like, why would you congratulate this guy?" And Juan Soto Marcus Stroman was like, "I'm like a decent human being. That's why." And then the person responded to him was like, "You're just gonna get traded by the Yankees anyways because they don't want your money." And he was like, "What do I care? Like, I'm like 32 years old and like have already made more money than I thought I was gonna make." So like he seems like accepting of he fully acknowledged that the Yankees want his money off the books. And we talked about it yesterday. DJ LeMahieu's got like $15 million on the books.
Yeah.
And you told me that you don't think the Yankees can attach him to a trade. I call BS. If you're giving up 4 of your top 10 prospects, that other team can eat DJ LeMahieu's money.
The fact of the matter is that you are the New York Yankees. You shouldn't need someone else to eat your money. When Steve Cohen is on the other side and he's getting big time prospects for his huge contracts and he's the one eating the money. Like, you are the New York Yankees. Enough is enough with this already.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but again, this is what I'm talking about with kind of a new look of baseball is you have the Dodgers ownership group and the Mets Steve Cohen, who their money doesn't come from the team, whereas the Yankees and the Steinbrenners are rich from owning the Yankees. I'm not playing poor me with the Yankees. They're still one of the richer teams out there, but they do have some version of a cap on themselves because that's where those guys make all their money.
Look, it's, you know what? At the end of the day, like, they put the cap on themselves. It's not like the
They do,
Steinbrenners
but
don't
I have to work
the
in
money
those
to have a higher payroll.
I fully understand, but when we're talking about what are the offseason plans, I can't be like Hal Steinbrenner to decide that he doesn't need to make X amount of money per year. That's just not realistic. I have to operate under the cap that they've shown that they have.
Every Yankee fan knows that the big guy is rolling around in his grave right now, screaming
I
after losing out
1,000%
on a
agree.
big free agent, and then on top of that, having a budget following it. You need to fix and save the offseason if
I
that's the
agree.
case, without having any restrictions.
Ben, on the outside looking in, what is your interpretation of where the Yankees should go from here?
He thinks Hal should open up the checkbook.
Right, so give me specifics.
No, I think honestly, you guys need to just not panic. The American League did not get significantly stronger at this moment.
The American League's going to get worse.
Like Cleveland with Shane Bieber coming back, they're going to be in better shape, I guess. But you can go out there, sign one of the big time pitchers, bring in a guy like, Jose Quintana.
I'd argue the AL is getting worse. Corbin Burns and Anthony Santander are leaving the Orioles, who are the next best team overall. Bregman looks like he's leaving the Astros. I don't know. They might go to another AL team, but the Orioles next year are going to have Tyler O'Neill instead of Santander and not Corbin Burns. The Astros next year are going to have not Alex Bregman and be older. Like, even if those guys go to teams in the AL, it's not going to be to Cleveland and Kansas City. Maybe Bregman goes to Kansas City, but from what I understand, it's like the Yankees are the AL team. Them in Boston, and Boston was bad last year. So what? They're just going to get to be good?
And here's the thing with the Yankees. I mean, I get that Soto was a huge part of this team, But, outside of Soto and Glaber, you're bringing back most of your team. You're bringing back most of the guys.
You saw the MVP, two-time MVP Aaron Judge.
Exactly.
Should be
so
free.
panicking isn't, going out there and acting like you need to get the best available player at each position.
No. I wouldn't panic.
Say, you know what? Let's bring Brandon Drury in here and see what he does at second base.
Well, we went down that road already. We've had Drury. We're done with the Drury experiment.
Ken Rosenthal just tweeted that
you bring in an Ahmad Rosario as like just a prove it 1 year deal. And you tell him, hey, you're playing second or third base.
They tried that last year. They wanted him. So, I mean, that's a name that they're familiar with.
You don't have to go out there and
get,
these free agents that are going to
in terms of ideal
$20 million each.
But I'm not saying that I wouldn't. I'm not saying I wouldn't. Listen, the Yankees, in terms of like what they like could do that I'd be happy with, there's a lot of outcomes. I think Max Fried is going to be a Yankee. Ken Rosenthal just tweeted sources, Mets, Yankees among teams vying for White Sox Garrett Crochet. The Yankees have kind of let it out of the cat out of the bag. Plan B to Soto is pitching. That's what I think it should be.
Like a lot.
That's what I think it should be.
But
they're going to need another bat.
Yes.
Like all I'm saying though is like you guys are sitting here and you're talking like the Yankees need to massively upgrade at every single position,
which they do.
But you just
not every position.
Series. Like you guys are literally listing off. You know what?
Ben, do you hear yourself? Bring in an Ahmed Rosario or a Brandon Drury or a Josh Bell. Like you're not getting better by doing that.
No, but I'm not saying you bring all of those guys in. But if you go out there, you're sitting here talking about being crunched for money, but you don't want to bring in,
I'm not crunched for money. The Yankees have operated as if they're crunched for money, so I'm just you're setting my expectation there.
You're not really bringing in those guys prevents you from then playing the kids. If we're not going to bring in a high-end free agent, you're not going to get one of those low-end guys to just throw in. That's what the Pirates do.
No, That's get one of those low-end guys to be a depth piece. You sign someone like a Drury to a minor league contract.
I would rather at second base
they're not able to fit
Durbin than go get a Brendan Drury and Ahmed Rosario.
I'm not saying you're signing all three of them. I'm saying if you're going out there and you're spending money at position A and B, it's not the end of the world to sit there and plug a Josh Bell at first base.
What I'm saying is it doesn't make sense to, because at that point, play the kids. You have guys that are major league ready. Why would we go and say get an Ahmed Rosario or a Brandon Drury when you could just play a Caleb Durbin or a Oswald Peraza or an Oswaldo Cabrera?
You guys are sitting here saying that those guys aren't getting it done, and you need to upgrade.
I'll say this: the Yankees should entertain Jurickson Profar.
Absolutely. Imagine him.
You guys, it's sitting here, you bring in more competition. These guys aren't breaking the bank. Bringing them in literally has zero negative impact. The worst case that happens is they don't play for you.
Yeah, I mean my realistic guess as to where the Yankees offseason ends is Max Fried and the Bellinger deal.
You guys want you guys want my genuine, honest opinion. What you guys are saying on your wish list is completely unreasonable and way too much to ask of a team. You're asking for
Ben, you're taking what we said is our dream scenario and taking it at face value as what we want them to do.
You guys are sitting here saying you want 5 big-time blockbuster
we're saying that's our dream offseason. Of course we're going to say that. We said that's our dream.
I mean, here's what I'll say. The Yankees have $60 million in then Stroman and DJ's money to fill out the roster. So you could theoretically say the Yankees are working with $90 million. If they're working with somewhere between 60 and 90 million, I want 3 to 5 good names. And Nico Horner and Garrett Crochet make no money right now. So if you go and make a Crochet trade, you're still having a lot of money available to spend. So go also get a Teoscar Hernandez.
But is Nico Horner even on the market?
Yes.
It doesn't make sense to me why the Cubs would move off of him.
I mean,
they have a prospect that he's blocking that they want to start playing.
The guy can play second or short.
They have Dansby Swanson at short.
Yeah, but that's why wouldn't you move off of Dansby? I understand you're going to get more for Horner, but like that, it doesn't. It's a
I'm
move
just
that doesn't
saying, like,
make
I
sense.
saw his name in trade packages on like Bleacher Report, the the baseball one, where like they said like the Cubs are reportedly shopping both him and Bellinger. If they're
I'm
shopping
pretty sure
both of them,
Jack
the Yankees
Curry
could just
also
make
brought
that
up.
the right side of their infield.
I believe Jack Curry also brought that up too. Horner and Bellinger.
Again, it's probably not going to happen the way that we're
Oh, of
saying it there,
course.
but in a more realistic sense, then like of what I would be okay with as a Yankees fan, Max Fried, bring in another reliever, go get another bat or two, and I would like a sixth starting pitcher. I don't know who it is. I don't know how much money you spend. I don't know what they do, but that's like what I would like.
Yeah.
Like it, obviously, I would have loved Soto, but the backup plan, like I would focus on pitching if I could, and just
Final
bring in
thought.
another bat or two.
Let's go. Final thoughts. Mets and Yankees.
Subway Series 2025, book it.
Good God.
No, I mean, final thoughts for me are the Mets are significantly in a better spot, not only for next year, but for the next decade after the Soto deal. You no doubt make the move. Steve Cohen is doing what he promised to Mets fans. I'm happy for them that they get to experience it. I hate that it's the expense of a Yankees player, but such is life. They, in my opinion, are not done this offseason. And I wouldn't be shocked if Steve Cohen really shook the snow globe of the MLB and spent big. I am not, in my mind, I think it's possible they get Burns and Alonso. I don't know how big this guy's checkbook is, but I'm not ruling it out. And
I
for
also
the
think Alonso
Yankees,
would take less to stay with the Mets.
I do too. And for the Yankees, I think losing Soto sucks, but it gives you the opportunity, if you play your cards right, to have a better overall roster than you did last year. I'd love to see him do it.
Yeah. Ben?
Look, I think that ultimately there are still a lot of moves that both these teams, obviously more so for the Yankees than the Mets. I think they're both still positioned well. I don't think that the Yankees are in a horrible spot. When you have Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge, you have a good foundation for your baseball team. And, for the Mets' sake, you have to feel good when you have Soto and Lindor. Those are two cornerstones. Those are two pillars for your foundation, for your organization. And there are still a lot of big names. And, to see the Mets still big game hunting, it's fun. It's exciting. The offseason's really just gotten started.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's the Mets are still a ways away. They got much better, but they still have more to do before we put them on that Dodgers tier, even. I think they made giant strides to get there, but there's a lot more question marks that need to be answered for them. And I think the way Cohen has tackled this offseason, they're going to answer them and they're going to answer them big. Yankees wise, I'm still really frustrated with how this all went down. Hal showed me a lot. I can't be mad at him. I think, and I told Dylan this, I think trading for Soto at this point might have been a fireable offense for Cashman. You
I
traded,
disagree.
you
We
basically
disagree
traded away.
completely on this, and
We do.
the short
Well,
version of this
World
is
Series,
you would.
it's really hard to say.
The short version of this is if they didn't make the trade, you would have killed them for that. Now that they made the trade, you're killing them for that. Like
Yes.
they did all they could on the Soto aspect of things. They brought him into the team and got to a World Series. Like it's not like they failed to surround him with a good team and were pathetic, and that's why he left.
Traded basically Dylan Cease and Michael King for Trent Grisham in 1 year of Soto.
Dylan Cease. We didn't trade Dylan Cease.
Well, we traded Drew Thorpe, which was pretty much the main package for Dylan Cease.
I mean, I don't know if you could put that on the Yankees.
No, that's actually how it was advertised that the Padres were able to flip Juan Soto into all.
I
the
mean,
pieces
maybe
of the
that's how the
Yankees as well as
Padres
Dylan
reviewed
Cease.
it.
No, that's how the media has viewed this as they got those pieces from the Yankees as well as Dylan Cease.
I mean, all right. That's how the media views it. It's not how I do, but teach their own.
No, but so I think the Yankees need to go a long way to buy back some goodwill with the fan base. They went up to 760. That's well and good. They didn't spend 760.
Yeah,
They
I
didn't
mean,
spend
like you
it.
said, though, like go do plan B. It's been a
Go to
day.
plan B, go hard. But I kind of want to move on from this and go to, the final thing I want to talk about. That's the Baseball Hall of Fame, right? The Classic Era Committee, they just inducted Dave Parker, Pittsburgh outfielder, and Dick Allen, first baseman, played for the Phillies and the White Sox. We have a ballot full of a bunch of first-timers, some guys there. I want to get your guys' take on who's going to get inducted, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm sure you both know how it works, but you can name up to 10 guys on your ballot, right? You can name up to 10. You don't have to name 10. I'll go each name and tell me yes or no, and then I will let you know basically who we elected out of the three of us or four of us, because I also have John's. You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Give me a yay or nay on Bobby Abreu.
Nay.
No.
Nay. Yay or nay on Carlos Beltran.
Yeah.
Yay.
That's a yay from Ben.
Also
Dylan?
from Dylan, yeah.
And also from me. But that's a no from John.
Can't even defend himself.
No. Mark Burley.
No.
Mm-mm.
He had his perfect game. That's it.
Carlos Gonzalez in his first year on the ballot.
No.
No.
Curtis Granderson in his first year.
No.
King Felix in his first.
I'm going to go yes.
I'd have to look at the numbers, but I feel like he was just dominant for so long that I lean yes. I feel like he was just dominant my whole childhood.
We'll go. You want to go with the yes?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to say no. I think he fell off too quickly at the end. Torrey Hunter, fifth year,
No.
got 7.3% of the vote last year.
I like Tory, but
7?
why not?
7.3%.
Yeah, no.
I would
Adam
say
Jones,
No.
no. Uh-uh.
Andrew Jones.
Yes.
That's a yes for me as well. He got 61.6% of the vote in his and he's in his 8th season now, or 8th year on the ballot. Dylan,
Yeah.
that's a yes from you.
Yeah.
Ian Kinslow,
No.
No.
no. Russell Martin in his first year.
No.
Stop it.
I'm just reading off the ballot. Brian McCann in his first.
No.
No.
Dustin Pedroia is an interesting case. His first year on the ballot.
Who's that?
Could,
Okay,
injuries
big Tom.
failed, but could have been a Hall of Fame career.
I hope people understand that I was joking there, but probably not. Injuries kind of derailed him.
Yeah,
That's what I'm at
Dustin
with him.
Pedroia is he's one that I feel like is more just kind of a good story than anything.
How many did he win? He won one, right? He was part of that 2018.
He won 2.
He won 07. He won 2.
He won in
07 and
07.
13.
Maybe the second one.
He
I
was
don't know.
also a part of the team, even though it was brief in 18.
Yeah, you're
3
nay
games
on
played
Pedroia.
in 18. I'm nay on Pedroia just because I don't think he had the longevity in his career. I think he only played 11 seasons.
Yeah,
And
I'm gonna
the
go
last
nay,
2 on
but
that, he had a combined 9
That's
games.
nay?
So
yeah, he's got to start doing broadcasting or something to
But
get
yeah,
more in favor.
I do want to point out that we have 0 yeses from John so far.
He's real stingy with his.
well, that's because last year I think he gave too many yeses. He had the limit.
Now we got Andy Pettit, 7th season, got
Goat
13.
bat. Goat
No.
Pettit. Put him in.
I'm
No.
in on Pettit too.
Easy.
No.
Now we got
What did John
Hanley.
say? What did John say to Pettit?
John said no on Pettit.
Figures, this guy.
Hanley Ramirez, good old Hanram.
No.
No. How about Manny Ramirez, 9th year on the ballot, got
Yeah.
32.5% last year.
No.
Yeah, put him in.
I'm with Dylan on that one. I think Manny deserves to be in the Hall because it's just Manny being Manny. How
Has
about
John said yes to anybody?
John has not said yes to anybody
all right,
yet.
you got to let us know when he does,
Oh, I will.
or if, I guess.
Then we got Fernando Rodney
God,
in his first season on the ballot.
no.
No.
Maybe his hat that's always sideways, but
Alex Rodriguez, 4th year on the
Bah.
ballot, 34.8% last year.
I'm
Put him
saying
in.
yes.
I'm also in. John has not said yes to anybody yet.
Yeah. John.
Yeah, but Jimmy Rollins is coming up, so
Francisco Rodriguez, in his 3rd year on the ballot, got 7.8 last year.
No.
K-Rod, one of my favorite players when I was a kid. This is not a Hall of Famer in my opinion either.
No.
Not the long. He didn't have the longevity.
No. Jimmy Rollins, 4th year on the ballot, 14.8%. Is he a Hall of Famer?
No.
Dylan?
No, I'm not
That's
doing
no from me, but it's a yes from John.
Knew it. I knew
So,
it.
Alex
Guess what? He only
Rodriguez.
has one other
No.
yes too, and it's probably to Chase Utley.
Now we got CC Sabathia in his first year of eligibility.
Goat CC. Put him
Yes
in.
from me, yes from Dylan. Ben?
You wear a Yankees jersey, you're in the Hall of Fame,
I'm
baby.
giving him a yes as well. But it's a rare case where really it was such a dominant 4-year stretch that he had that I think, he was so dominant that stretch alone is able to get him in. He was able to win a World Series, and he was able to win the only World Series really in the last 20 years. How long has it been for the Yankees?
Yes.
2001 was
Yeah.
the last one before 2009.
2003.
2003. All right,
We
so
lost.
it's
Well, no, we lost 03 and 01, and last one we won before 09 was 2000.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 2000. So yeah, it's been one World Series in the last 24 years, and CC Sabathia I think was arguably the biggest part of that.
So there's 3 yeses
And
from us.
A-Rod. A-Rod was a
A-Rod, yeah.
stud.
How do we think John voted on CC?
I say no.
He didn't wear a Phillies jersey, so no.
John said yes to CC.
Oh, look at that.
Wow. What a
Next up
guy.
is Ichiro Suzuki.
Yes.
Easy, yes.
Even from John. Troy Tulowitzki, little
No.
Rocky legend,
No.
first year of eligibility. Now we go Chase Utley, 2nd year on the ballot, 28.8%.
No.
I think he has more of a case than Jimmy Rollins, but
Are you going to put him on?
is there a limit to the amount of yeses?
Yes, you can
Yeah,
have
you
10
only get
yeses
10.
only.
Oh, then no.
So just to recap, before we get into our final 4, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys on the ballot between the 3 of us.
And
pretty
John's
much.
got 2
I have
or
7.
3, or is it 3 now with Utley, Rollins, and
Right.
CC or Ichiro?
But we have between the 3 of us 6 to 8 guys on our ballots. John has 4, I should say. Next up is Omar Vizquel, 8th year on the ballot, 17.7%. After what came out about him and the White Sox and the Bat Boy, he fell from the upper 50s, I believe, all the way down to this. Is he?
I don't know what you're talking about, but what you're insinuating, just take his name off the list.
Ben?
Yeah, he was a no for me last year, before everything else.
And now
We do have a John yes to Omar Vizquel, though.
Can you tell the story of baseball without Omar Vizquel?
Well, I used to say yes to Omar Vizquel, but when
John goes, A-Rod did steroids. No. Omar Vizquel did. Yes.
that's not a story I'm going to tell, but you can always Google and find out what he did with the Bat Boy in the White Sox locker room.
Yeah, I'll give you one guess.
Billy Wagner now in his 10th season, final year of eligibility, got 73.8%, and you need
Oh yeah, put him in. Last year on the ballot, you get
you
the
need
yes.
75 to get in. Yes from me. Yes from Dylan. Is it a yes from Ben?
Like Billy Wagner is one of those guys that you don't necessarily not want him to make it in, but like I don't know if he's very much deserved. Like I have a tough time with relievers getting in, not named Mariano Rivera. Like even Trevor Hoffman, is one that I'm on the fence with because you're pitching at most 60 valuable innings a season. Like that's not someone who's that good. I know 420 saves for Billy Wagner, but his career WAR was like a 27. It's not like he's going out there and he's worth a ton of wins.
Right. So yes or no?
Closers aren't worth enough for me, and that's why it's a no.
All
like
right.
There's a reason he's not starting games.
Right. That's a fair way to look at it. Next up, in his second year on the ballot, David Wright got 6.2% last year. David Wright.
He should be in over Chase Utley.
Look, I am going to come out here and say that I can't have an unbiased vote here. I know last year I did not vote David Wright on, but this year, I can't not give him my vote. I say yes, and it's strictly because, even though he may not have the longevity, even though he may not be deserving in a lot of people's eyes, David Wright is one of those guys that I did grow up watch. He was when I first really was able to remember baseball and watching baseball, it's when David Wright was breaking out. He is the player and the Met of my childhood. What he was off the field was just as valuable. He has my vote.
All right. And then last name on the list, surefire Hall of Famer Ben Zobrist in his first year of eligibility.
No.
Former Met.
So is that a yes from you,
remember the
Ben?
Ben Zobrist sagas? Oh boy. Yeah, no, he's an immediate no for me.
So to recap, Carlos Beltran got 3 out of 4 votes. He is in the Hall of Fame for Outsider
Sports Hall of Fame, baby.
King Felix got 2 out of 4. He is not a Hall of Famer for Outsider Sports. Sad day.
Damn it, Ben.
I voted for him. Corey didn't.
I didn't.
Damn it, Corey.
Andrew Jones will be a Hall of Famer with 3 out of 4 votes.
The show goes on.
Andy Pettit, 2 out of 5 votes, will not be a Hall of Famer.
5? Who did you add to this show?
2 out of 4 votes.
You added somebody who didn't stuff the ballot for Pettit? What's going on?
Ryan forgot to get back to me on it.
Oh. Okay.
Andy Pettit, 2 out of 4 votes, is not a Hall of Famer. Manny Ramirez, 2 out of 4 votes, not a Hall of Famer.
And I want to point out, for anybody who doesn't remember, the Yankees fan said yes, so don't come for us.
Alex Rodriguez looks like he has 3 out of 4 votes, right, Ben?
Oh, yeah, A-Rod.
I gave A-Rod a vote.
Yep. A-Rod, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, take that, John. Take that, John Pauline.
K-Rod out. Jimmy Rollins, 1 out of 4 votes. The lonely, sad vote. CeCe Sabathia, the first unanimous Hall of Famer in Outsider Sports history.
Woo! Congrats,
followed by the
CeCe.
second, Ichiro Suzuki. Both on their first ballots. Chase Utley is not a Hall of Famer with 1 measly vote. Same goes for Omar Vizquel, just 1 vote.
Really?
Billy Wagner, 3 votes, is a Hall of Famer.
John gave him a vote.
John gave him a vote. That's what I was waiting to announce.
Insane.
John gave him a vote.
That's right. Last year on the ballot, you get in. You did your time.
David Wright, 1 vote, is not a Hall of Famer.
Wait. Hold on. I said yes, and Ben said yes. That's 2 votes.
You ran out of votes.
Well, maybe I want to change something.
Who didn't get in that he voted for? It's going to David Wright.
David Wright also wouldn't get in with my vote.
Yeah, but it belongs to him.
Yeah, you know what? Screw Billy Wagner.
Or King Felix at least. Or at least get King
Ichiro.
Felix.
I guess I could take it away from like Ichiro and just make it not unanimous, but he's still
You
in.
really want to be the guy that says Ichiro's not a Hall of Famer? Like the guy who
No.
said Cheater wasn't a Hall of Famer and kept him from being unanimous.
No. David Wright, I'll get you next year. When
will
Corey's
say-
got to put him up earlier in the ballot, though. That way I don't run out of yeses.
I
To
mean,
be
it is
fair, he read
alphabetical.
it completely off of Baseball Writers of America.
Yeah, I
That's
get
the-
it. It's
he read the
alphabetical.
official ballot.
But I will say returning next year will be King Felix, will be Andy Pettit, Manny Ramirez, Jimmy Rollins.
What I don't
Chase
get is why a guy can like be a Hall of Famer one year or like the next year, but he wasn't good enough to be a Hall of Famer for you this year.
Because
Especially
you only
when,
get
like,
10 votes.
yeah, but what if they didn't use?
What if
all
they're like
10?
me? What if they're like me and they use them all?
No, but like a majority of people don't use all 10. And like they'll sit there and straight up not vote for anybody. And then the next year they'll go and vote for him as
lot
if
of
he
people
wasn't
use
an
him as-
option last year.
There's protest votes. There's, anti-steroid guy votes. There's only, the only vote CC and Ichiro votes. Guys that need to be convinced on, relievers being in the Hall of Fame.
Look,
There's
if I
also
didn't-
weirdos.
if
There's
I
also
didn't
weirdos that
vote
care
for
about
you-
like what year you go in at. So they'll be like, you know what? Carlos Beltran doesn't strike me as a first, second, or third year Hall of
he's
Famer,
a fourth ballot.
but he's like a fourth
year.
through sixth guy to me. So I'll vote for him in his fourth, fifth, and sixth season.
That's
the
what I
ballot.
mean. It makes no sense.
There's people that are very weird about it. But if you had to give a prediction on who gets in this offseason, out of all the names we named, who would you say gets in?
All the guys I
Ichiro
said
and-
yes to.
Ichiro is certainly a surefire one for me, I think.
I would say I would
the
agree.
amount of
Ichiro
hits he
definitely
has.
gets in.
I think Ichiro is surefire. And I do think Andrew Jones gets in this year. I think he's going to get the bump he needs.
I think Alex Rodriguez has done enough ass kissing on Fox baseball preview shows to get in.
The Kevin
I
Burkhardt
know.
magic.
I think Andrew Jones falls just short. I think we get three guys in. I think Billy Wagner gets in. He fell like 2 votes short last year. Ichiro and CC. Ichiro is unanimous. CC gets probably 83% of the vote. Beltran inches closer, and I think he gets in the next 2 seasons, as does Andrew Jones. And I can't imagine anybody else on this list ever getting in, sadly.
There are some of these people on this list.
Well,
that just
Chase
should never
Utley
be on
actually
it.
might end up getting in.
Mhm.
If
No,
I'm
but
being
like,
honest.
come on. Fernando Rodney just should never put his name on the ballot.
Nick Swisher was on the ballot like 2 years ago.
I know.
Goat.
Like,
There's
Yes.
a reason.
Go, yes.
Nick
Yes, for
Swisher
Swisher.
was my favorite player as a kid.
Put him
like
in
Carlos
the hall.
Gonzalez, no business
But there-
being
but
on the
there's-
ballot.
But why? He meets every criteria to be on the ballot.
No,
You
but
know
he has no business being on the ballot.
But he meets the
if he
criteria.
gets
and it's
any
an honor
votes, I
to
would
be.
be shocked.
You know who's going to the Hall of Fame? The new suite that Juan Soto got for his family at Citi Field that the Yankees would not give him at Yankee Stadium, per John Heyman.
Yeah, he's a complete diva. Good luck with that.
Diva. Guy wants a suite for his family. What an asshole.
He wants his family to be able to watch him play baseball. He's an asshole.
Ridiculous.
I mean, what else you want? You want your own suite in the moon? Like
Yeah. What's next? You'd like jerseys for your family?
he's gonna be asking for like healthcare next. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, the Yankees felt
You
that
want
it couldn't be
technical?
done because Aaron Judge and Derek Jeter paid for their suites.
Exactly. They're great guys. But, that's going to do it here. This is going to wrap up the season for us. We'll be back previewing the next season. Hopefully the Yankees make some moves. Hopefully the Mets also make some moves and kind of get from A to B and maybe we'll be looking at a Subway Series next year. National League a lot harder than the American League. Ben, Dylan, final thoughts on 2024 as a whole?
Let's go Yankees.
I was gonna say LFGM, baby.
Let's go Yanks. That'll do it here. Corey Jason, Ben Mandel, Dylan Mel signing off. See you next season.